welcome to Aviation Production Planning. We're now going to talk about capacity planning. And capacity planning is actually a very, very interesting subject, if you're a planner, of course. What we look at with capacity planning, we look at trying to understand the capability that we have within the business area. So, the goal of aircraft maintenance capacity planning is to provide the best possible combination of factors to deliver an acceptable service level in a cost-effective manner. So let's start the ball rolling. We want to have an airline for some reason. And to set us off, we have a small number of aeroplanes. And we need to have a management team. The post holders, we need to have an air operator certificate, we need to have commercial air transport. Now we need to make a decision. And the first decision we need to make is, what are we going to do for the maintenance? We've decided what we're doing with the aeroplanes. We've got the aeroplanes, we're getting pilots, or we've got pilots, cabin crew, operational staff, and so on and so on and so on. All the various requirements of our AOC. Now what we're going to do about maintenance. We could actually choose to outsource the whole maintenance story. And we don't have to look very far to find an airline that actually chose to do that. Wizz. If you look at Wizz, Wizz did not have their own 145. Now I think they've got a small one in one country. I think they've got a small one in Luton. But they were operating, for example, 50 Airbus without any maintenance guys. Why? Because they decided that their business model was going to work by contracting labour. And here is a starting point. Is it good? Is it bad? In fact, EasyJet also operated in the same way. And so the rationale then that automatically it's advantageous to have our own maintenance isn't necessarily the case. So once you make that decision, you then go to the first step and say, okay, we have performed an analysis and we believe it's cost effective to have line maintenance. And I actually believe that at 50 aeroplanes, Wizz reached the point where it was cost effective to have a certain amount of line maintenance. But anyway, there you go. Companies make business decisions. Then the next stage is, do we do base maintenance? And if you do base maintenance, how much does the overhead cost you and what are you getting for it? And again, many companies decide, when we talk about, for example, C-check maintenance, it's simply not cost effective. Particularly if you've got a small fleet, if you've got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 aeroplanes, they will need, for example, let's say 1 C-check a year. So they need 1 week a year. So for 6 weeks of the year, our maintenance facility is going to be flat out, and then for the next 44 weeks, or 46 weeks, whatever it is, it's going to be hardly used. And again, really difficult questions that we have to answer. And superimposed on this is a whole range of different rationales. For example, in some countries, the airline is owned by the state. So it's seen as a provider of jobs. So we are supporting jobs, and for every job that we create, the job itself generates additional jobs. You create 100,000 jobs, the fact that there are 100,000 jobs will in itself create more jobs, and so on and so on and so on. And the economy starts moving. So what to do? Well, we've just got to do the maths, and we've also got to do the marketing that's associated with the maths. If we've got a facility, so we decide we're going to build a hangar at Sofia Airport, and we decide that this hangar is going to be sufficiently large to allow us to do a 737 or a 320 type aeroplane. Okay? And so we build this hangar, and then we've got to decide what maintenance we're going to do and how we're going to do this maintenance. If we decide, for example, we're going to do a C-check, okay, we're going to do C-check maintenance, the thing we need to consider is how many people are we going to employ? because the number of people will reflect how long it takes us to do the maintenance check. We've also got to think, if I employ one group of people, say, okay, well, we're going to have 50 guys in the hangar. We're going to have 50 guys in the hangar. Supporting them 50 guys in the hangar, we're going to have 6 guys in the stores. We're going to have 8 guys in the office. We're going to have 2 guys in production planning. We're going to have the management team, and so on and so on. So we'll have a total of 75 guys. Okay, great. So what are you going to work? Well, we will work basically Monday to Friday from 8 o'clock to 4:30. Okay, great. So what you've now decided is you're building a hangar, and this hangar is of course available for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do the math and see how many hours we've got, and you're going to work for 40 hours. And so you're actually going to, your proposal, your business plan, sees you using that core facility for 25% of its availability. Is it okay? Well, maybe yes. The crux is, where do we break even? If we can use a hangar for 25% of its availability and be profitable, then we're in good shape and we've got huge opportunity for expansion. If, when we do that, it's not profitable, then we've got to consider then the exposure. If we do that, if we're not getting a return on our investment, why are we doing it? We must make a difference. So how to make a difference? Well, we need to do maybe 2 shifts. Instead of working 5 days a week, maybe we need to do 7-day working. Maybe we need to have shifts where people are working 4 on, 3 off, 5 on, 2 off, 5 on, 2 off, and so on and so on. So that we've got constant utilisation. We can also start thinking about something we were talking about earlier, which is the critical path. As long as we're managing the critical path, we understand that there's lots of things that can be done in a time frame which allows a float, as long as we're managing on this critical path. So these are the sort of decisions that are made when we're doing capacity planning.